It's always good to have people to quiet a crowd. Welcome. Always glad for this event. It's one where I really get to talk to people about stuff. For some of you, this might be your third year in hearing and seeing what we're doing. For those that have not been here before, let me tell you a little bit about Adventures in Faith. About 41 years ago, a man named Roger Fredrickson, who was the person that the chapel is named after, he and his wife, Ruth, started a program to bring back alums to sort of talk about what they'd done after school. About 10 years ago, Roger and I were working together. In fact, he was living until very recently, died in his 90s, on how to make this real for people now. The first step, if you were here the last couple years, was to make sure that you guys had engagement concepts, because the question that we had to do with our mission statement. We're going to talk about that. We had a student who said to Roger and I, how can I prove that I've done something significant? It's in your mission. What opportunity have you given me to do something significant? And for both of us, that was a powerful thing. So the first thing that we did, we got some grant money to do it, is we started making opportunities to do significant things. And this year is the last piece of it, which is we have the ability to credential you in doing significant things while you're here. So, we will still stick with some of the Adventure in Faith tradition, which is I get to show off to you some people, both recent grads and not so recent grads, who really show the Ottawa spirit. Then we talk about the kind of things you can do, and we hope at the end of this to get you to sign up. So that's the evening. What I would like to do first is to have you take a look at our new mission statement. You may or may not be aware that the mission statement has been changed. And that was a lot of work. A lot of people came together. So we're going to show you a slide with a new mission statement. May not be the first time you've seen it. Building on its foundation as a Christ-inspired community of grace, sort of stayed the same, and open inquiry. We prepare professional liberal arts graduates for lifetimes of personal significance, vocational fulfillment, and service to God and humanity. That's what Adventures in Faith is about. So, what I'd like to do first is show you who we are giving an award to for demonstrating it and tell you a little bit about why. When we started this with students, I thought that people would do things like one-time things of helping youth, or maybe a good thing. What ended up happening is we had a nationwide suicide prevention initiative for high school youth. We did stuff for disaster relief. We did missions for people we did stuff that was so much bigger than I ever thought, and it was done by people like you sitting in these seats who said we can make a real difference. So these grads, both new and old, are the kind of people that humbled me because they did so much good and I got to serve them. So the first thing then is to talk and let these guys talk a bit. First up is John Contreras. How many of you know John from soccer or from, yeah. Glad the soccer's here. I like cheering for Johnny on the field. He ended up being the most intense worker bee, the most intense thinker, and a person who pushed me because maybe I wasn't doing enough to make a broader difference. I was humbled and proud to serve for John. And I'm glad to have gotten him back from the wilds of California to talk to you guys a bit. So Johnny, come on down.
Can you remember signing your letter of intent to attend Ottawa University? Do you remember the feelings that went through you? It was the spring of 2015 when I picked up the pen, nervously thinking about the contrast between what I know and the unknown. I was about to leave the constant, sunny, busy suburbs of Los Angeles, California, and enter the quiet, calm, rural town of Ottawa. The fact that I had to travel 1,500 miles outside of my comfort zone of home made me hesitant. It was new territory with completely different sounds, sights, people, and experiences. and that was scary. But I've learned to use my fear as my fertilizer for personal growth. I believe everyone can largely benefit from trying something new by first reframing what you fear, following a path of experience, and finally applying yourself to new adventures. Reshaping my fear and anxiety has been a constant, difficult task, but it's been quite rewarding. I've been able to apply it towards my game as an athlete, a student in the classroom, and as a person in everyday life. As a soccer player, one of my biggest anxieties was to perform at the expected standard as to why I was recruited here in the first place. The role I was meant to play constantly nagged in the back of my head. I thought to myself, am I doing enough for my team? I had a service to give, but was I competent enough? I realized that I had to reframe my attitude from self-doubt to belief. And similarly, as a student majoring in psychology, I was pondering after all the assignments, reading material and exams of the multifaceted divisions of theory. I asked, what am I really learning? What experience do I have? What skills have I built other than the ability to attend class, study, and pass exams? Thus, what will happen after I graduate and enter the so-called real world? I realized that if I were to reconstruct my feelings of uncertainty, I can turn what's otherwise exhausting into something motivating. And so the summer before my senior year was the beginning to a transition from all about soccer towards my academics and service outside of the classroom. But I didn't know how or where to start. I just knew a step needed to be put forth in a direction. And this is where following a path of experience came into play. By fall of my senior year, I began to ask questions to those who have been in my path before me, to the people that would give their time, offer advice, and personal experiences. My professors and counselors were a great start, but the person who took things 10 steps further was my dear friend, John Holtzetter. I met John one fall morning when I was looking for a part-time job on campus. I never thought my request for help could lead to a 45-minute conversation of inspiration and purpose. I found much more than a part-time job. I found direction. And soon enough, John's answer was to put me on a plan to build skills and experiment new encounters that I never thought I was capable of. So for example, I was assigned to a project where I volunteered for the Frederickson Center. And here I helped lead a suicide campaign, where I helped create videos, connections, and resources nationwide. I've never been a part of something like this, and it was all thanks to John, exposing me to new experiences outside of my comfort zone. And after a few projects, I wanted to continue my learning and try even more outside of my comfort zone. It was finally time that I apply myself to new experiences. So as a psychology major, I wasn't required to graduate with an internship, but I wanted one anyways. I believe reading textbooks and learning about the science in class can only take one so far. So I decided to pursue an internship that would break through my learning plateau and immerse me into practical experiences that would reinforce my academic experiences. My grateful internship experience involved working with the Winter Center for Restorative Justice. It's a nonprofit organization that provides services and programs for the rural communities. And I had another great mentor there through this experience named Trish Dowdcount to supervise my internship and pave the opportunity to work directly with a child in need. And thanks to her and a wonderful cast of professionals that I crossed along the way, I was stretching the boundaries of my comfort zone. Then an opening arose my last semester at OU, where I had the chance to become an after-school teacher at one of the local elementary schools. I figured, why not try something new while giving back to the community? So I did it. I reconstructed what I was afraid of, I turned to mentors for guidance, and I put myself to practice. It felt like I had come full circle to be a significant role model to the youth, to pass down hope, to give support, and inspire young individuals to trust in themselves. My last year at OU was a mixture of blessed opportunities, growth and experiences, and an appreciation in the connections and relationships established. And I hope your experience at OU can be that tenfold. So I challenge you to reshape your fears, because if you don't go after what you want, you'll never have it. I challenge you to ask for help, because if you don't, the answer will always be no. And I challenge you to apply yourself, because if you don't step forward, you'll always be in the same place. Thank you, John. Thank you, Kurt. Thanks for being with us.
Do you remember that whole diploma grab and take thing? So this year is something new for us. We actually want to give tangible awards to these people because they really are adventurers in faith. We wanted something they could hang on our wall because frankly they hang in my heart and a lot of other people they touch. What Johnny didn't tell you is the kid that he worked with was a kid whose father was murdered in front of him. Young man. Didn't hardly speak before Johnny dealt with him. By the end of it, he wasn't perfect, but at the end of the day, he was doing a lot better. It was really intense. And I saw that kid the other day, and he's probably going to be okay. And that is the kind of difference that we'd like you to make. So I guess I was soccer chaplain for too long because I find that I put soccer guys to work way too hard. Both Johnny and Kurt were on the same soccer team, and I met them when they were younger and put them to work early. Towards the end of their time here, when they were sitting out here, they ended up putting me to work. And maybe that's what I'm hoping from you guys too. Kurt Hamilton is a person who, for a long time, volunteered in our world. Yeah, and I got to pick out those pictures, which is sweet. So make sure you look at those because those are goofy. Yeah, we put him in the wig once for Christmas. He was an elf. At the end of the day, he ended up going from being a great worker bee and a server to coordinating events, the last one being at Camp Chippewa, which is outside of town, with a ton of youth for days on end, where at the end of the day, he just tells us what to do. And now, he's not only enrolled here in grad school, but he also works for me within my programming. He's actually owning a part of a grant that we get from the Lilly Foundation, and he's the only person, because of his experience, that did that, that's not in his 30s. And he's the one that people go to for inspiration and idea. So, Kurt, come on down.
First, I just want to say it's a privilege to be here in this setting. Definitely not a spot that I would see myself when I was just a freshman. But I never thought after spending 4 years at OU that I would decide to stay here, any longer. I came here as a freshman, overwhelmed with the idea of college. I met a new roommate. I went to my classes. I even joined a club. I thought I was doing college right. Thought I had everything figured out. I could stay up as long as I wanted. I could eat whatever I wanted. I could do whatever I wanted. What a feeling. Oh, I guess school was part of it too. I just had to get through 4 years of this, and then I'd be done with school forever. That's what they tell you. Sophomore year came. I continued, made some new friends, had a little bit different attitude. I decided I wanted to get more involved. I wanted to try something new. Therefore, what I did was I got a job. I started volunteering, and I decided to join even more clubs. Everything seemed good, like I was on the right path of success. Junior and senior year would eventually fly by, as it didn't even feel like I was in college anymore. That is what's supposed to happen, right? If we take all the right steps, we get a degree, we get a job at the end of it, and then we live happily ever after. That's what they tell us. That's what we're hoping for anyway. Only being from one state over, I thought I would just migrate home right after I got my diploma. However, God had a much different plan for me. He thought that I had to stay in the large town of Ottawa, Kansas, and probably become a graduate assistant for the fund accounting department. Nevertheless, that's what happened, and that's what the steps that I did in college took me to get to this point today. I really didn't know what I wanted to do when I graduated, and that's okay if you feel the same way. I was a double major. I was looking for a job in the business field. Didn't really care much what it was about, just was looking for a paycheck, just like most of you might be doing someday. But before I got to that point, I met a man that saw a lot more in me than just being an accountant. John Holtsutter approached me when I was sitting here in this room about to encounter Braving, which is a Christian ministry event we do in the fall. And he asked me a few questions. He asked me what I was going to do with my life, and I gave that stereotypical answer of, I don't know. What he told me after that was some things like, maybe you should come see me sometime. Maybe you should do a little bit more. I was like, sure, I guess I'll do that. I already have my set agenda, but I'm not going to do that. He told me his office was in the Toy Jones building. I didn't even know we had a Toy Jones building. After numerous conversations with John, I quickly learned more about myself than I was a guy that was just punching in the numbers. He reintroduced myself to me as I didn't even understand who I was. I was intrigued. I always believed that I was a Christian at heart, but I never felt like I could carry out any of God's work with what I did. I started with little projects like Johnny mentioned with the Suicide Awareness Project where we made videos for others, and I even helped set up some of John's calendar. How does anybody have time for doing all this? I kept asking myself. I'm a college athlete, I have to go to class, then I have to go to work, then I have to work with John, then I have to get all my homework done. It didn't seem possible, but there's a balance. There's a balance that everyone finds for themselves. I quickly learned more about my gifts and abilities as they were quickly thrown into the projects that I was doing. I never thought that I could find a balance, but John quickly showed me mine. We all get into a rhythm. When January of 2017 rolled around, John asked me that critical question again of what am I going to do with my life. Again, I answered, I don't know. He told me about an opportunity to work with high school kids. Man, I thought he was crazy. I did not want to do that at all. When you're in your senior year, though, you kind of go into this panic phase of where your mom kind of heckles you and tells you that you need to get a job. So that's where I was, and I decided to take that job. I was excited, and I knew it was going to be a challenge, but I knew it was going to be a good challenge. And heck, it was going to be a lot better than sitting in that accounting office all day. Now I'm 9 months in this job, and I wouldn't change a single thing. I lead community service events, I've been in musicals, and I've even led a high school retreat this fall. My focus is now fixed upon what I can do for others to help them. Ottawa University was a place where I just chose to play soccer at first. After a few years, I developed friends and a community that I would live for forever. Professors who showed me more than what was just in my textbooks, and I found a mentor that saw more in me than just being a businessman. My advice to you is the same as Johnny's, is to get involved. Try something new. Even if you don't like it, give it a chance. I never thought I would be in musicals, but here I am, about to enter my second one. Give yourself a chance to do something that you never thought you could do. Give yourself that chance to step out of your comfort zone and find something that you're passionate about even though you never thought you would be. That is what I did, and I wouldn't be standing in this spot today without that. Please let John or I know if there's anything we can do to help. Thank you.
I've never known Ottawa University without this next person. I haven't. Jan Lee, when I was younger than all of you, was a fixture here. Fixture in this community. A person who knew history that nobody else did. A person who could tell you about this school or about this place. As I got older, and certainly as I worked here, which I never thought I would, she became my go-to person for a myriad of issues. Not just with questions, but if I needed something done, and it was really important, if it had to do with Hungry Kids or Christmas or those things, I went to Jan. Because not only could she organize it, but she had such a servant's heart that when we got the gifts for elves and angels and angel tree and they weren't wrapped, she would stay with me as long as it was wrapping so we could get them done. She would come after hours and pick up and clean up and stuff stockings and do all those things that nobody never ever saw. And she would make it so that we could take, as we've done in the past years, because at ECAN at Christmas we get the big families, the 10s, the 12s, the 15s that nobody else can adopt. She would help me get those huge sacks ready so we could take them out. We're blessed that she has volunteered to do this for us again this year, so she will be heading up our holiday issues. But since you'll have the chance to work with her and see how she is as a worker bee and a person, I wanted you to get to know a little bit about her as an alum and a longtime OU brave. Jan.
My connection with Ottawa University goes back to 1891. Now, I know I don't look that old, and I'm not, But I am a member of a 4-generation family who have had graduates from Ottawa University. And I'm very proud to say that 4 of those generations are women. The first graduate in my family was a woman from Ottawa University in 1897. So I guess Ottawa University is in my blood. When I graduated from high school, I just knew that I was going to go to Ottawa University. I had heard my parents and my 2 favorite aunts and uncles talk about their time here. So without ever stepping foot on the campus, I left Fort Collins, Colorado, and came 650 miles to Ottawa to go to college. The best decision I ever made. So in 1964, I graduated with a degree in elementary education and headed back to Colorado to teach 4th grade. After the 2nd year, I knew that was not what I should be doing. But I wanted to stay in education because I came from a family of educators. So I decided to take some library science classes and maybe I could get a job as a high school librarian. Well, as I was taking those classes, I got a call from the librarian at Ottawa University who said, "Would you come out and be my assistant librarian?" I said, "Well, I'll think about it." Called him back a few days later and said, "No, I don't think so." And in my own mind, I thought, you know, those college students, they're really smart. There's no way I could help them. Well, when June came around, I didn't have a job, and back in those days, most of us had jobs in April. So I was coming out for the alumni reunion, and I saw the dean and the librarian at the alumni banquet, and I said, "Is that job still open?" So after 15 minutes, they said, "Well, we'll consider this." And in July, I got a call asking me to come out to Ottawa to be the assistant librarian. Again, one of the best decisions I ever made, because I stayed as a librarian here at Ottawa University for a number of years. And I did leave for 16 months and go to another KCAC college, and when the opportunity came back, I was very, very glad to be able to come back. In addition to being a librarian, I had the opportunity to teach, first in the core program, and I found out that I really did enjoy teaching the first-year core classes. Didn't like grading the papers, but I certainly did enjoy my interaction with the students, and it was a closer interaction than I could ever have as a librarian. So over the years, I was able to do both of those things. As a faculty member here at Ottawa, I was able to sponsor various student activities, and some of those activities did, of course, involve service. One of the things that I helped with was going on Habitat for Humanity builds. Now, I'm not a carpenter, but one of the values of being a volunteer is that you get to learn new skills. And I do know a little bit more about building a house now than I used to. I really began my service and volunteer work as a child. In probably about 3rd grade, my Bluebird group, and those were the little kids of Campfire Girls at that time, would go Christmas caroling to the what we called the old folks' homes at Christmas time. And it was a real blessing to see their smiles, know that they appreciated being recognized. So from then on, doing service projects, just being involved with other people became just a part of my life. I had good role models as parents because they were always involved in doing things for other people. St. Francis said, "It is in giving that we receive." And I have certainly found that that is true in my life. By being involved in other people's lives, my life has certainly been enriched. This evening, I was reading a letter that has been posted on the internet, and one of the things that this letter writer said was, "Do the right thing for no other reason than it helps another." And I would like to add, it helps another of God's children, because I believe that everyone here on earth is a child of God and deserves our service.
So, there's one more person who I will acknowledge, but he is not here tonight, and I'll pick on him. Donald Anderson had to go out of town unexpectedly. I want you to see these pictures of Donald. Give him grief about the one with that guitar. I have known Donald since he was a student, and you should ask him sometime about his freshman year, because it was interesting. Through the years, it's been fun for me because Donald and I have had the blessing to do some stuff nationwide. He's been helping me with something called Justice Cafe, which is now international, and for starting and finishing school for football. That what I will tell you is he has a strong passion to make a big difference in the world. And I think he always had it. But he found it about the time that he was a sophomore, junior. And he's a real inspiration, I think, both to me and probably to you if you hear how that story went. Because he is one of those people that I know me and probably you can say in 10 years when you see him on TV. That's something that man did. He's a mover and a shaker and a good guy. So clap for him even though he isn't here. All right, so that's about this and role models and things. Now let's start talking about you. So there's some things that I would like you to understand, and probably this is it. We're talking about personal significance, vocational fulfillment, and service to God and humanity. Okay, that's the mission. Probably the thing to remember is the difference between influence and concern. I like this. If you had classes, you might have heard it covered. The end of the day, influence is stuff you can change, and concern is stuff you cannot. How many of you have concerns about whether we're going to be nuked by Korea? Because if you don't, you probably should. I do. It's a concern. Can I influence that? No. Does it keep me awake at night? No. 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 What keeps me awake at night is stuff I can change. What keeps me awake at night is stuff that I can make better. There's homeless people in Ottawa, Kansas, for Pete's sake. That concerns me, and I can influence it. We have kids right now. We have at least 3 kids who have lost parents, 2 to death, 1 to murder. We need some young man or some young woman, which is anybody younger than me, to help make a difference. We have a huge issue going right now with some rural properties and water. We have seniors that need, there's lots that can be done. The cool thing is that as we encourage you to do things, we really have the ability now to do something we haven't before, which is to credential what you do. Have you done an unofficial transcript request? Any of that yet? You will if you haven't. We have something now that we're opening up to everybody. We've had it for our Frederickson folk for the last couple of years if you're in our programs. It's called an avocational transcript. So if you're an athlete, if you're a musician, if you're in theater, you already qualify because you've already done stuff that we can credential. We also can credential these additional opportunities. There's a whole way we can do it. And we'll talk a bit about why, but at the end of the day, I can print off a transcript with your name on it and the things that you've done. If you work with nonprofits, which we have a lot of people to do, we can have them put a letter in it saying, this is great. And you have the ability to do stuff that a lot of people won't be able to do until they're well graduated. And at the end of the day, our intent is to give you leadership opportunities. This is not necessarily licking envelopes. This is being in charge. Because we feel that from your generation and your age, you can solve some of the problems that maybe my generation and age has gotten us into, frankly. Because I really do get sad watching the news sometimes. Some of the stuff I see is not cool. And I want to have more influence, and that comes through you. So take a look at this bizarre next slide so that you can see There is a lot of gobbledygook on this transcript. You don't have to stare at it too much, but I'll tell you at the end of the day, it's sort of what and where you do it. All this is the stuff that makes it legit. This is stuff we've worked on for about 3 years. There's a wonderful lady named Joyce and some other people that help us so that when you get your transcript, it shows your name and these additional things you do. Take a look at the next slide. That's sort of what it looks like. It documents everything that you've done. Remember those tons of codes? It basically say, how did you participate and what were the learning objectives? What did you prove? What we hope is that that's pages long. What we know, because we've already seen it, is that grad schools and employers really like it. And for a lot of you, it's stuff you're already doing. It allows you to have your stuff with your grades, but also something that proves that you really made a significant difference in your time here at Ottawa and further. What we were told when we talked to students is that not everybody was into this because it was sort of annoying and very bookish. So Karen Onasorge and Karen Adams came up with a program called the Badge Program, which you can earn a badge. Now badges are different. Badges basically are 20 hours you have to learn, you have to do, and you have to journal about it. That's a badge. You can pick your flavor of badge. It's a lot more fun. There's stuff that's electronic, which I am not. There's assigned things. You actually can get a little prize or two if you do different components of badges. The difference between an avocational transcript and a badge is an avocational transcript credentials what you want to be credentialed, and a badge sort of says, here's a menu of things you can do. They can go together or they can be independent. We have another fun way to do it too. I'll show you that in a second. So, does a badge or an avocational transcript make you one of these people? No, but if they would have had those, I would have been able to give them one. It allows me to prove to someone when I can't have someone come and speak, when I can't have an employer or a grad school hear how phenomenal somebody is, I can at least say, look, here is the tangible proof of a person who makes a difference. And I don't care if they're 22 and you think they're too young for a job. They've already been handling stuff that 35-year-olds can't. It's a great thing. Next slide, please. So again, at the end of the day, I want you to do the right reason, but I also want to be able to prove it. One of the things that we had talked about then, again, is you got your avocational transcript, you have your badge. The final piece, if you go to that weird Faith and Church Vitality tab that you see on My Ottawa, there's a little link that says, I want to volunteer. Gives you 15-minute increments. You can click on it. It magically signs you up into a world where that happens. Around holidays, of course, it ties in with holidays. One of the things we've heard from people, because my world changed a couple years ago when I went from over with my partners in Adaway down to Atkinson, is where are you located now and where do we go to do things? So we have a video, if you've not been to our world, where you can see a little bit of what we do. So we're going to take the lights down a bit, put in that video, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to sort of see, if you sign up, what you'll be getting into. So, at the end of the day, it's the basement of Atkinson Hall. And Atkinson Hall is way over yonder, but if you'd like the attractive view, so I can still see you. Show of hands, how many people have been to the basement of Atkinson Hall? Oh, my heart breaks. All right, you need to come to the basement of Atkinson Hall. To do that, you go on these attractive stairs, past the board that says prayers and praises, where you can stick something or not, down that particular hall, past the theatrical fraternity, and most of the time the stuff we do takes place in this room, which we call the Tau Clubhouse. Going into the holidays, we do a lot of stuff. Last year, for example, we got socks and underwear for 550 kids under 13. We did angel trees. That is our community food bank. It's actually for Ottawa students. We always need volunteers in the food bank. Come study there so that you can help if people have some needs. You're going into my world. The chaplain's office is there. The Frederickson Center is where those chairs are. At the end of the day, a lot of times we need students to come work with little kids. Sometimes just to play with them. You saw a picture of Johnny and a kid. Sometimes it's to read with them. A lot of times it's kids who are disconnected for whatever reason from families. It takes 15 minutes to read a story to a kid that's missing a mom or a dad or a brother or sister. At the end of the day, that stuff can last forever, and you can just give one 15-minute time. Your whole semester, one 15-minute time can make a huge difference. So, we sew buttons on at least twice a month, so if you have clothes that need to be darned and would like to learn how to sew a button, I have wonderful people that teach that. We do that because you'll see one of the clubs, we also have the clothing bank, and that's for students. We do 2 drives a year. If the clothes are too frumpy and dumpy, like I would wear, they go to a place called Hope House. If the students determine that they are cool, we keep them here. If you need a winter coat, we got them. If you know people that need winter coats, we could use your help. Going into the holidays, and I hope we can get a lot of sign-ups, we adopt a ton of families. We do seniors, where we give stockings. These are people that are homebound. We do a lot of services for people that are taking care of a loved one, somebody who is sick or dying, and a husband or wife or kid is taking care of them at home. We do interesting things like sign language, enough sign language that you can maybe talk to the people that you go out and deliver things to. You don't have to deliver, but you can. We take things to nursing homes. We also do interesting issues then where we try to do some fun. A lot of times we'll take people to a museum or do things. We teach women's self-defense. We work closely with battered women's organizations. Not only do we make gifts for them at Valentine's Day, but we also need students to help us teach women's self-defense. And we do Tai Chi, which is a calm thing, but our particular version is something that's designed for people that have disabilities. Some of them are youth with disabilities, and some are older people. A lot of them with our veterans are people that are missing limbs. And so they need somebody who's young and fun and doesn't freak out when they don't have a leg. And truly, we find that your generation is better at that than mine sometimes. We do goofy plays and things, you've heard that. Not only do we do the suicide stuff, but we've also done some absolutely silly stuff where it's just fun to get in front of a camera. What we find is it may be fun to get in front of a camera, but many times it takes many, many takes. Michael Jones was my favorite to pick on. And we do some mixed martial arts for high school. That's actually, Kurt, isn't that your high school? Yeah, so we went to Willard. We went to Willard, Missouri, and attacked small children. Elves and Angels, the big thing we're signing up for, we hope to sign you up today. That is our big Christmas thing, so remember, because the next piece is we talk about how to sign you up. I really, really would like volunteers. We are blessed to have Jan to help us with that again this year. We want to make a good Christmas. So, now it comes into how we say it. You got pens, as you know, when you came in. On the back of your program, there's some sign-up stuff. Let me tell you how you get started so we can talk about how to do this. There are some important ways, and the last way is really fun because we call it our service clubs. The third way, you can come up with your own, we'll transcript it. You can do a badge, it's prescribed, or you can join a service club. And our service clubs are fun because they are dedicated around something like history, but they also have to do something or adopt something here on campus. All those will credential you through. At the end of the day, I will say that if you have a good idea, we'd love to hear it, because that might be the start of a club. All of our clubs for the last 8 years we've done service clubs have come this way, from a student idea. What we always say is if it lasts more than 3 years, we'd really hope you go to student affairs because they might keep it going forever. But I don't care about forever. I just care about one season so that I can get you to volunteer. We do fun things as well. With that then, there's a need to help us with that with proctors and validators. So come up here and be shown. There you go. I already have a proctor, I need more. And what they do is they're the people that listen to your good ideas and document that. So if you have an idea for a service opportunity that we should do, A, look for this person, or B, come tell me you'd like to be one. Because at the end of the day, the more that you can stimulate good ideas, the better. Thank you. The last piece then is these are our clubs this year, and so I'm going to call the guys up, the ones that I have here that are presidents, so they can be seen as well. Each one of these clubs then has to own something. So for example, if you are talking about who owns the clothing bank, you can look up there and see which particular one was. We have a food bank, we have a coat bank. You don't have to be in a club so you have to be in drama club to volunteer at the clothing bank. But if you are in drama club, you have to help me get the clothes in and take care of them. So each club owns a particular thing that runs campus. We love to have people join clubs. History Club, I think, is having a meeting tonight. But at the end of the day, you can either volunteer for the club or you can just volunteer to do good things. So got club presidents that are here, come on up so they can see who you are. Cool. You want to talk, just tell them something about Psychology Club?
As Dr. Holtzhuter explained, Psychology Club is in charge of the food bank, and even if you don't want to be a part of Psychology Club, you're more than welcome to talk to me afterwards or email me about the food bank if you have any questions, and you can volunteer as little as 15 minutes or however much you would like to. Thank you.
Angel, get up here. You're sitting way back. No, you have to come up, Angel. Come up so they can see who you are. You're too quiet. Not only do you need to see Angel from a club perspective, but a lot of times if you come into my office in the morning, it's Angel you will see. I am blessed to have him sitting at least where Johnny used to sit, if not always in Kurt's chair. My schedule sometimes means a little bit of travel, but I have wonderful people that are there if I'm not that can handle a lot of things. Angel is one of them. Angel is also in charge of Paisanos Club, which was started really by Hera last year in soccer. And it is a club for people that are interested in Latino culture. That they also are doing international stuff. We started some of that last year. Angel is carrying that on. Where are you from, Angel? So Angel's from Venezuela. So this year, what country are you going to help? Yeah, we're going to help Venezuela. Part of it is to really make sure that the kind of stuff we do is due. Do you want to say anything or do you want to scurry away? I said you didn't have to talk. They just have to see you. Okay, good, thank you. No. Come up here. You are probably the last person I would put on the spot. Say something.
Hello. I didn't know I was going to come up here, but I started History Club at the request of John, who, after 3.5 years of knowing me, figured out that I was a history major. So he suggested that we start a History Club, and I pretty much just asked everybody I knew, and everybody was like, no. And we managed to get like 10 people, and usually we just kind of hang out every week or every other week and talk about history. Yeah, we're actually meeting tonight right after. If anybody wants to stay and join us, we're going to be here. So.
And foolishly, History Club decided prior to this year that they really wanted to help out with disaster relief. Guess what?
Good timing.
Yeah, it was timing, guys. This is a year for disaster relief. So History Club has their hands full. And some of that is not just stuff, but the practical issue of recovery 6-8 months from now. Bringing stuff into people's homes that will make them feel better, that kind of stuff. So History Club needs you. All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is the part I promised. We're going to sign up. Guys, find your sign and station and hustle these people. Get them.
So what we're going to do now for this last 5 or 10 minutes while you guys are stuck here because you have to be here with us, we're going to kind of split up into 4 groups. I'm going to stand over here. There's going to be people over here in the back and on the right. If you have any questions about any of the 8 or 10 clubs that we're a part of, we'd love for you to come talk to one of us about it. If you turn your programs over, there's actually a sign-up sheet on the back. It's amazing. We did that for a reason. So if you are interested in anything, if you want to write your name, phone, and email and give them to any one of those 4 people, that's pretty much what we ask for you to do in this time. If you bear with us and do this for 5 and 10 minutes, we'll let you go. Sound good? Go.
Wait, Kelsey. No, wait.
Yeah, yeah.
Where are you going?
Yeah, yeah.